Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark is getting some work in with her new coach. The Fever posted a video of Clark and her new head coach, Stephanie White, along with assistants Karima Christmas Kelly and Austin Kelly, working out in the Fever's practice facility. The video shows Clark working on multiple aspects of her game, including shooting and defense. Clark said at the end of the season she wanted to improve on different aspects of her game in the off-season, including more of a mid-range shot. In the Fever's video, Clark worked on mid-range shots, floaters, as well as finishing at the rim through her left hand, something she struggled with throughout her rookie season. Clark didn't have much of any time to work on her game between her senior season at Iowa and her rookie year in Indiana, with just a month between the two seasons. With 7 months of an off-season this year, the Rookie of the Year is making sure to diversify her shooting abilities. Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark wants to take her team to new heights for the 2025 season after a very impressive 2024, when the Fever returned to the playoffs. They lost to the Connecticut Sun in the first round. The Fever caused sensation last season with their play on the court, with Clark setting numerous records on her way to winning Rookie of the Year honors and joining teammates Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell as All-Stars. With Indiana basketball legend Stephanie White returning home to take over the reins as Fever head coach this season, the team have aspirations of hanging more banners in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Meanwhile, the future looks bright and we got a little piece of what's gonna look like with the Fever's first workout with White as their leader. The training session was intense and Clark shone with her massive talent, her insane dribbling skills and her superb shooting. Indiana is gonna need all of that and more for her season opener when they host the Chicago Sky on Saturday, May 17th. The Fever and Sky had the league's two most compelling rookies last season in Clark and Chicago forward Angel Reese, both of whom had record-setting rookie seasons. The long WNBA offseason is well underway, and there has been more activity than usual this winter. Not only because of the expansion draft to fill out the Golden State Valkyries roster, which is now complete, but due to the unusual number of coaching changes. 7 franchises parted ways with their coach: the Atlanta Dream, Chicago Sky, Connecticut Sun, Dallas Wings, Indiana Fever, Los Angeles Sparks, and Washington Mystics. It's no surprise that group includes the 5 worst teams in the league last season. The Fever were the first to make a new hire when they agreed to a deal with Stephanie White, who left the Sun earlier in the offseason and previously played for and coached the Fever. The Sky then filled their vacancy by inking a deal with former Las Vegas Aces assistant Tyler Marsh. Up next, the Dream lured Carl Smesko away from Florida Gulf Coast University and the Sparks also dipped into the collegiate ranks to hire Lynn Roberts from Utah. Most recently, the Sun surprised everyone by hiring Belgian national team coach Rachid Mazian. Finally, the Wings filled their spot by hiring Chris Coklanes, while the Mystics agreed to a deal with Sydney Johnson. Caitlin Clark is in the lab getting ready for year 2 in the WNBA. When Clark hits the floor in 2025 for her second season, she'll have a new head coach after the Indiana Fever decided to part ways with Christy Sides and hire Stephanie White. White coached the Connecticut Sun for the past 2 seasons and had previously coached the team in 2015 and 16. White played for the Fever herself from 2000 to 2004 and wore the number 22 jersey. It only makes sense she'll work with Indiana's current number 22 to try and take the team to the next level. The Fever reached the playoffs last year for the first time since 2016, White's last season as the franchise's coach. Stephanie White knows winning is the only option after sealing her return as head coach of the Indiana Fever, tasked with leading Caitlin Clark and a talented roster to WNBA glory. White has rejoined the franchise where she spent 6 seasons on the coaching staff, including a 2-year stint as head coach from 2015-16. The 47-year-old has spent the past 2 seasons in charge of the Connecticut Sun, twice losing in the playoff semifinals. White had options across the WNBA, holding talks with the Fever and Chicago Sky after leaving the Sun last month. But the prospect of working with Rookie of the Year Clark and young stars like Aaliyah Boston proved too good to turn down, although White knows she is under pressure from day one. I am incredibly proud and honored to return home to Indiana and lead the Fever during such a pivotal moment in this franchise's history, as well as during such an important time throughout women's athletics, White said. This franchise has and always will be committed to winning, and I look forward to working every day to help deliver another WNBA title to the greatest basketball fans in the world. The Fever made the somewhat surprising decision to part ways with head coach Christy Sides after a defeat to the Sun in the first round of the playoffs. After a 1-8 start to the season, Sides' team finished 20-20 and 3rd in the Eastern Conference. But with Clark and Boston heading into their second seasons, the Fever's championship window is open, and President of Basketball Operations Kelly Krauskopf made the ruthless move of changing head coach. She believes White is the perfect fit to lead the team forward. As we enter this new era of Fever basketball, I am thrilled to welcome Stephanie back to the franchise, Krauskopf said. Stephanie is a part of the fabric of this franchise, both as a former player and as a member of our championship coaching staff, so I'm quite familiar with her elite basketball IQ and leadership style. I am confident there is no one who better understands our culture or is more equipped to lead our group of players to the next level. White hopes to go one better than her first season in charge of the Fever, which followed Lynn Dunn's retirement. The Fever lost out to the Minnesota Lynx in the WNBA Finals in 2015. The following season, Indiana finished third in the East and was eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. White moved to the collegiate level at the end of the 2016 campaign, taking charge of Vanderbilt, where she spent 5 seasons and finished with a 46-83 record. Stephanie White boldly set out her championship aspirations for Caitlin Clark and her teammates following her return to the Indiana Fever as head coach. After a season where the Fever reached the playoffs, only to be swiftly ousted by White's Connecticut Sun in the first round, Christy Sides was fired, paving the way for her comeback. She had previously held roles both as head and assistant coach with the team. The common opinion was that Sides hadn't fully harnessed Clark's abilities. Consequently, much will depend on the Rookie of the Year's rapport with White, 47, which could prove pivotal to the Fever's quest for a title. Clark set a WNBA record for assists in a single season and also led the league in three-pointers made. Reese, meanwhile, broke the league's rebounding record. Both were All-Stars, and though Clark ultimately ran away with Rookie of the Year honors, Reese finished second in the voting. Indianapolis will once again be the center of the basketball universe this July, when Gainbridge Fieldhouse hosts WNBA All-Star 2025. It will be the first time that the Circle City has hosted the WNBA's signature weekend. The 21st All-Star Game in WNBA history will be held on Saturday, July 19th, with a three-point and skills competition the day before. It will be the second All-Star weekend the city hosts in a 16-month span, as Indianapolis also hosted NBA All-Star 2024 in February. As the city prepares to host, the Fever will be on the road the week before All-Star, visit Dallas on July 15th and New York the next night. Indiana figured to have plenty of representation over the course of the weekend. Boston and Mitchell both have been named All-Stars each of the past 2 seasons, while Clark joined them last year as a rookie. Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark is still enjoying the WNBA offseason. While she's not forgetting her workouts and improving her game, she's also making sure to get some much-needed downtime. More recently, Clark has been spotted multiple times watching college basketball, NBA and G League games with her boyfriend Connor McCaffrey. Clearly, she's making the most of her first off-season. On Monday, however, Clark got fired up and it appears she's now more excited than ever to get the new WNBA season started. It comes after the Fever posted a video of Aaliyah Boston's latest workout. It's not only Caitlin Clark who was hyped to see Aaliyah Boston's off-season work. Their fellow Fever teammate Lexie Hull also reacted and wrote, "Yes ma'am." Several other fans showed their excitement in the comment section, with one fan even saying, "She legit can be MVP this year. Special player, special person." Another commenter shared, "The league not ready for year 2 CC and year 3 AB," a third supporter added. A follower further stated, "Looking forward to coming season. Thank you for a great season. Next one even better." The Fever made the playoffs for the first time since 2016 in Clark's first year in the WNBA. Sure enough, though, Clark wasn't the only reason for their rise. Both Boston and Kelsey Mitchell played significant roles for Indiana as well to bring the team back to relevance. That being said, it's definitely intriguing to see how Clark, Boston and the rest of the Fever follow up the big year they had. White certainly hasn't been shy about her ambitions. During an interview with The Fan, Indianapolis, when quizzed about the Fever's trajectory, White did not hesitate to spell out her objective in 4 words. "It's competing for championships," she established. She added, "The expectation was always to be competing for championships, and I think now we have an opportunity again to be doing that." While it's uncertain whether this goal is achievable next year or further in the future, White concedes that such advancements will take time. Undoubtedly, Clark will be central to White's strategy. The coach recognizes the 22-year-old as a generational talent and also holds Aaliyah Boston in high regard, predicting she will go down in history as probably the best center that we've seen in our league. White said, "You think about building around those two, championships is the expectation. You compete for championships year in and year out." The buzz around the WNBA has never been louder as White makes her return to Indiana, with Clark's rising fame being a key driver of the league's popularity surge, according basketball icon Sue Bird. On the Deal podcast, she claimed, even if you look at the 2023 viewership in the WNBA finals, it was way higher than 2022. It was starting, the fire was there. But Caitlyn came and she poured gasoline all over that thing and just took it to another level.